Are you struggling to master the Kettlebell Turkish Get Up? Well, I've got you covered in this video. Let me show you how to get it done. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Once again, this is Coach Judah from Manzola Strength. Today we're gonna be covering how to do the Turkish Get Up properly. I know this is a very fun movement. It's a movement that a lot of people see and they want to do it. It's what gets a lot of people into kettlebell training. But if you're new to kettlebell training, I would highly recommend that you first check out my Kettlebell 101 video. I basically break down every single fundamental movement, all the way from the kettlebell deadlift to the swing, the single arm swing, the snatch, the clean. That's gonna be a really good fundamental way to get into kettlebell training, but this is kind of a standalone additional exercise. It's full body, it's really, really fun, and it is a fantastic movement for shoulder stability, core stability, hip mobility, leg strength. Like I said, it's full body. It's gonna hit a little bit of everything, and I'll also tell you how to put it into a little bit of a workout at the end of the video. All right, so before we actually get into the get up, I wanna talk a little bit about prerequisites, because you do need to actually have a couple things in order to do this really, really well. One of them is gonna be hip mobility. You need the ability to really open up and extend the hip to get into that hip bridge. You also need to have good overhead mobility and overhead stability to be able to hold a weight above your head for a certain amount of time. So these are things that in the past I've seen people struggle because they had really locked up hips, or maybe not super stable shoulders, or a lack of overhead mobility. So if you are lacking those things, I would highly recommend that you maybe work on that prior to engaging in the actual Turkish Get Up. Or you can do what we're gonna do first, which is actually the body weight get up, to work on the technique before we actually start to load it with weight. I always teach people this with body weight first so they can see the movement, and then from there we start to load it with weight afterwards. Okay, so let's get into the body weight get up here. The big thing to keep in mind is pillars and tension here, guys. We're really using our body structure to create pillars as we get our way up to the top of the movement, and we wanna keep good tension throughout the entire movement as well. So as I get down to the ground here, let's say that I'm holding the weight in my right hand, and I'm going to push this up over the head. I want to basically have this hand straight up. I'm going to have my left hand down on the ground. I'm going to have my left leg kicked out to the side. And what I want to do initially is I want to use the power from this leg to drive up onto my elbow. So I'm going to squeeze. I'm going to punch and drive up onto my elbow. I now have a pillar from my elbow all the way to the top where the weight is that's going to support that. To get to the next piece, which is the sit-up, we're going to push up onto the hand, and I'm going to sit tall. So this is now gonna be one of the harder pieces of the actual movement, which is the hip bridge, right? This is where I said if you don't have good hip mobility, it's gonna be harder for you to actually extend and get into that position. So I have the weight up here. I wanna hip drive through my glutes and extend through the hips. From here, I'm actually going to pull this hip back underneath me to a 45-degree angle and hinge the hips up, okay? So now I'm in this position, but I need to get into a lunge position. So I'm going to rotate the hip, I'm going to find a stable lunge position, and then from here, keeping my eyes up on the kettlebell, I'm going to stand all the way up, okay? So now we actually have to do it in reverse. So have the weight here, I'm going to extend the left leg back down, I'm going to rotate that hip 45, I'm going to hinge diagonally, keeping my eyes up on the kettlebell, put the hand down. I'm going to kick the leg through. I'm going to go down to the elbow, down to the back, and I'm going to return the weight to its place at the bottom. And that is going to be the whole setup, and that's with body weight. So I'd highly recommend that you do it with body weight prior to doing it with weight. Here's a body weight one in real time. I'll just go through it really quickly so you guys can see. I have the setup, I have my arm out, punch and roll, up onto the hand, extend the hip, pull the knee back, extend the hip and hinge, find your lunge, stand tall, lunge back, hinge back into the hip after you rotate the leg, back down to the elbow, down to the back, return the weight to your shoulder. And that is going to be the body weight get up. Same thing on the opposite side, you're just pushing through the other leg and the other leg is extended. So practice that before you actually get into the weighted one. But let's actually get into the one with weight. Once we actually have weight, the only real difference is gonna be getting that weight into the correct position, because we are starting from the ground. Also, like I said, you might wanna train your shoulder stability a little bit more before you start to do this. So doing even like an overhead walk with a kettlebell, or just making sure that you've done some shoulder training prior to this, will be really, really good to make sure you have enough stability to hold that kettlebell overhead for a long period of time. So when we're getting this off the ground, especially if this is a lot heavier, I wanna roll to my side, and I wanna slot my hand through And if you watch the Kettlebell 101 video, I talk about the hand positioning. You want a 45-degree angle that sits through the ulna bone. So it should go down here into here. It shouldn't be flat. It should be a deep 45. I wanna wrap my hand. I'm gonna come in, hug the kettlebell, and I'm going to roll onto my back. This is simply for safety, right? Say this was not just a 30-pound kettlebell, but it was 100 pounds. Getting it to this position can be quite difficult, right? So you wanna do it safely, you wanna do it with a little bit of finesse, and then this sets us up really nicely to get into the actual Turkish Get Up. So once again, same sequence. I'm starting here, arm flat on the ground, big breath in, press up, and now starts the hold. This is why I said you guys need really good shoulder stability, because I have to hold this up here now for the entire rep. So I'm holding, I'm squeezing, breathe in, push and drive up onto my elbow. I'm keeping my eyes up on the kettlebell the entire time. I don't want to look at the ground. I want to keep my eyes up on that kettlebell the whole time. From here, I'm up onto the hand. This is the hip bridge. So big breath in, drive, squeeze the hips. Pull that knee back, 45 degrees. Hinge the hips. Find your lunge position, right? From here, stand, keep your eyes up on the kettlebell. Now go into reverse. We step back, we diagonally turn that knee to that 45. This allows us to hinge back a lot easier. Send my hip through, my leg through. Eyes are still up on the kettlebell, back to the elbow, back to the floor, bring it back down. And now you might, in a workout, do multiple reps simultaneously where you just keep that kettlebell up and you go again and again and again. Maybe you're doing 3 reps, maybe you're doing 5 reps. It doesn't really matter, but in a workout setting, you might actually not bring it all the way back down at the very start. But that is the Turkish Get Up in a nutshell, guys, step by step by step. So that's basically it, guys. There is those key fundamental steps there of the hip bridge, the bringing the knee back. Go back and watch them again and again. And like I said, practice with body weight first. Start with light weight and really get the reps in before you start to go heavy with it. Because as I've said in multiple videos before, if you can't do it well with a lightweight, you're not gonna do it well with a heavyweight. And how you can put this into a really fun workout is actually with pull-ups, because when we're talking about the Turkish Get Up, there's a little bit of everything. You know, you have shoulder stability, shoulder training, you have a little bit of pectoral, you've got a little bit of legs, there's a lunge in there, there's some core stability. The only thing we don't really have in the Turkish Get Up is a pull motion. So one workout that I was taught a while ago is actually to do a pyramid with pull-ups. So you're doing a light kettlebell to start. So maybe you're doing, 5 Turkish Get Ups on each side with a light kettlebell. And then you're doing, 2 pull-ups. And then you do a little bit of a heavier kettlebell, 4 reps on each side, 4 pull-ups. And then you're doing a little bit of a heavier kettlebell, 3 and 3, 6 pull-ups, until you get to a heavy 1 and 1, and that should be kind of your heaviest Turkish Get Up of the day, and 10 pull-ups, right? Short, quick workout, lots of fun. Good way to implement it into your training, or that can be a really good workout finisher. Say that you already did a big workout earlier in the day and you want to finish that workout out with something a little more fun. This little kind of pyramid set can be a really, really good one. So hopefully you guys got a lot of value out of this video. If you have any questions about the Turkish Get Up or how to implement it, leave a comment down below. As per usual, subscribe to the channel because they're going to be releasing more videos very soon. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Peace.